Hey, hi, and hello, everyone. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you are doing well. Let's talk about the year 2005 in another installation of our series where I go over the top 10 songs of the Billboard Hot 100 in a given year. We've gone through the 2010s. We are making our way through the 2000s. We are halfway through pretty much now, with the year 2005 being the focus of this video. Some very nostalgic bops in this one that I am excited to go over. Let's do it. And of course, we are going to tier them out, which is why there's a tier list next to my head, just making that clear. Okay, we are kicking things off with Miss Kelly Clarkson's Behind These Hazel Eyes. This track, sadly, I am not really a fan of. I do not enjoy it. I think aesthetically it's gross, though in a way I think Miss Clarkson and her producers on this one did achieve something with this track. Essentially, this thing is the distillation of local rock in one single song. Local to where, you may ask? Nowhere, honestly. Like, you could pretty much go to any sports bar in America and, you know, either there right now or at some point, some band has played a song that sounds just like this, with the same basic drums and lazy guitar work and melodramatic chorus. Here I am once again. Yeah, I just think this track is tacky and, again, melodramatic as hell and quite flabby. Too, in terms of performance, very, very sloth-like, very, again, lazy, very uninspired, very basic. Basically everything that makes rock music boring these days, in my opinion, I would put it in the D section. And it's funny to say these days because obviously the song is almost 20 years old at this point, but I feel like a lot of the kind of effects of this track and Miss Clarkson's rock run at the start of her career does have long-lasting effects in my view. Okay, next we have the wonderful Pussycat Dolls song Don't Ya. Of course, the Busta Rhymes version being the track that was at the Billboard Hot 100's top 10, number 9 spot. And I don't really have too much positive to say about this track either. One of the most annoying choruses of any song in the 2000s. Don't you wish your girlfriend was hot like me? I think the vocals across the track are pretty mid. Busta Rhymes comes through and obviously does what he does for the check, makes the song cornier somehow with his appearance. I think it's tacky. I think it's ugly. I think it's hideous. I just don't really like too much about this track, honestly. I mean, maybe I'm not bimbo-ified enough to really dig in on this song and see it as the classic that some may out there on the internet these days. But I think it's pretty god-awful. I'm going to put it in the E row. There you go. Following here, we have the 50 Cent song, Candy Shop. This is not really one of my favorite 50 singles, in my opinion. While I don't mind some raunchy lyrics here and there, I feel like the, I don't know, the innuendo isn't so much innuendo. You know, when it's gone so far, it no longer works as innuendo. It just feels kind of yuck. You might as well be raunchy as hell, just like Don't Hold Back. I mean, you know, the melody on this track is lifted from a Lil' Kim song anyway, which of course did feature 50 Cent at the time, but this just kind of feels like a worse version. I would much rather just listen to that track, honestly. The neat foreign samples laced into the production are about the only thing to me that is truly stand out about it. Everything else in regards to the track, I just think is either underwhelming, boring, or just merely okay, and maybe so trashy to the point where it just gives me just a touch, just a dab of the ick. I'm going to put this in the D row. Okay, following this, we have the Green Day song, Boulevard of Broken Dreams, from their American Idiot era. I walk a lonely road, which is actually not a bad tune. I think one of the more solid tunes on that album from Green Day. However, I just think the instrumental and the production, those pulsating guitars in the background and the very artificial atmosphere surrounding the whole thing just makes the performance sound so soulless and just so regimented and boring. And I'm just really not used to hearing Green Day in that state. I grew up with Green Day kicking ass in the 90s, even though obviously they didn't come to the table with the most raw punk rock in the world. It was pop punk, but still, it was more convincing and exciting than this. I just think that Green Day could have gone about this era in their career with instrumentals and performances that hit a bit harder than the very bland and very rigid and very steady recordings that we hear on this record. And I think Boulevard is one track of many on this record that suffers as a result of that, even if the song at the core of the whole thing is pretty decent. I'm going to put this one in the C row. It's okay, it's passable, but it could have been a lot better. Following this, we have the legendary and very popular Kanye West track, Gold Digger. One has to, argue for the sake of historical accuracy that Kanye's career would not be the same if not for this track. This was his hit. This is like his hittiest hits to end all hits at the time that this hit, and it brought him to a new level of popularity, of fame, of relevancy, of everything. And his career just would not have been the same without this track. There are a lot of things about it that I love and like. The production is really good. Kanye's rap performance is decent as well. The track has a lot of lyrical and topical focus, even if it is a little tacky. But with that being said, I do think some of the Jamie Foxx, vocal bits get on my nerves after a while, and the chorus is annoyingly repetitive. It is a bop, it is a banger, but maybe a little incessant in a way, and that could be due in part to my perception being painted by how much it was overplayed at the time when it was released, but still, I think it is what it is. Kanye does have better singles and better hits, as many of his fans would agree, but Gold Digger is still an essential one in his catalog, and I would put it in the B row. Okay, next, Sierra comes up again in this series, of course, because obviously she was kicking ass in the 2000s. We've talked about her music before in, I believe, the last video. In this one, we are hearing from the song 1-2 Step featuring Missy Elliott, and I actually enjoy this one quite a bit more, even though there are some elements of the production and her vocals that I find to be a little too smooth and underwhelming. The Missy Elliott feature on this thing is fire. The chorus is fantastic, and I'm liking these subtle little kind of old school electro throwback style going on with the beat too. I'm liking how sort of like in touch with the golden age of hip hop and more dance oriented strains of hip hop from the 80s this track is, and just kind of just embodies them tastefully all around. Feeling a B row on this one. We could put it right there. Next, again, because this was Miss Clarkson's year, we have Kelly Clarkson again with Since You've Been Gone. Now, listen, I know earlier I had my say on the song Behind These Hazel Eyes, but Since You've Been Gone, I think in many ways is bop. It's great. It's a fantastic song. My God, it's a good song. It's a really, really good song, and I think that there is a certain ferocity to the guitars and Miss Clarkson's voice on this track. There's so many other songs on the record this comes off of lacks. But yet it is here. It is here. There's definitely something here in terms of the vocal performance that makes it kind of fiery. That honest to God makes it fiery. I honestly think this track is really good. I would put it in the A row. It's really kind of flawless in terms of structure, in terms of writing. Chorus really hits. Verses are as engaging as the choruses. Again, performances there. It's not the most original thing in the world, but like, man, it hits. It's a rager. It's a pop rock rager, and all the respect in the world to it. Honestly, we have a few more over here in the Billboard list for 2005. We are also talking about Mario's "Let Me Love You," which obviously Mario did not go on to be one of the biggest voices in R&B for years to come past this point. But I will say this about Let Me Love You. The vocal performance is great. The production is super tasteful. And I do think it is one of the most solidly written songs from a melodic standpoint in the field of R&B for this decade as well. Ultra smooth, ultra sexy, quite lovely as well. And I do think it is a track that is worth revisiting, even though Mario didn't dominate the R&B field for too long. And he's obviously not a voice or a face that gets a lot of discussion today. But I do think this track is definitely worth revisiting. I would put it in the A row. From here, we have kind of an interesting one. That would be Gwen Stefani's Hollaback Girl, which I think has gone down in history as being a pretty iconic track all around. Like, it has two of the biggest refrains to ever come out of the 2000s. Obviously, the, Hollaback Girl hook and the whole bananas chant on the back end of the track too. And those moments of the track I really like a lot, along with the booming beat coming from the Neptunes on the track. However, there are elements of the song that I just don't really think play off that well. I think Gwen trying to rip some Freddie Mercury flows and melodies here and there are kind of tacky. That little kind of Queen melodic interpolation at one point in the track doesn't go over too well. I've always thought that acoustic guitar passage that hits occasionally on the track is a little awkwardly incorporated. Plus, the verse lyrics of the track, I think, are slightly cringe. But I mean, what all those details matter when, you've got, ain't no hollaback girl, ain't no hollaback girl. I guess they don't matter that much, honestly, because I mean, it is a pop song, and if the chorus goes, I suppose the chorus goes. I just think the finer details of this track, as exciting and as memorable and as hard-hitting as it is, could have been nailed down better. Could have been refined, and we would have had a much better song overall that I could look back on without as much of a migraine kind of stewing in the back of my head. Still, I would put it in the B row. And finally, we have Mariah Carey's "We Belong Together." I wish I had more to say about this track, or that I was more excited about the song that made number one on this Billboard list, but I don't. I think as far as Mariah Carey hits, this one is just okay, frankly. I mean, it's got one of her better tunes and a really solid vocal performance, but my God, does the production sound low budget as hell on this cut. Those hi-hats are very stiff and very soulless. The perks are very thin. The beat on this thing is in dire need of help, of assistance. It needs a defibrillator to come in there and just sort of like pump it a few times to really get the blood flowing, because it sounds anemic and basic and flavorless as hell. Certainly not the glamorous and beautiful instrumental backdrop that I typically hope to hear with a Mariah Carey song. That's just not really coming through on this one at all. It just sounds dry. It sounds dry as hell. And as a result of that, a little unflattering, even if, again, the song at the core of it is pretty good. I would put this one in the B row, I think. And there you have it. Those are my thoughts on that. Let me know yours down in the comments. Love you. Did you love these tracks? Did you hate them? Why? What year should I do next? 2006, obviously. Over here next to my head is another video that you should check out. Hit that up, or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Hot 100, Billboard 2005, forever.